frame with the museum and the art gallery, which is currently still has the work of Celeste Lear, but next month we're going to have a new installation, a new art installation there. We also have an Engage, the Spatial Computing Business Showcase, which you can visit anytime. It's a persistent space. You go into Engage and you go join session by ID. And the ID, you can see it on the slide there in the top right, is MRGPL. We remember that by you thinking of Margie Purple. It's all uppercase, it's case sensitive. So you can go in there and interact with the booths of the 9 women-led XR businesses that are featured there. Next slide, please. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet. We strive to record our events and to make them available to you on our YouTube channel in case you miss an event or you have to leave early or you get there late and there's a bit that you want to catch. So check it out. And there might be some events you didn't know about. If you joined relatively recently, you might find some more that you are interested in seeing there. Next, please. All right. And we have merch available, XR Women merch with some really gorgeous designs, including some that we came up with in a contest. Cynthia Galvez and another person gave us some really special designs. If you go to our website on the main page and you scroll down, you'll find the link to our spread shop there to buy some XR Women merch. And we also have enamel pins. These are a limited edition. You see some pictures here of some of us wearing the first edition. This is a new one with dark purple and silver around it. You can have one of these for $35, which will help support and sustain XR Women, will keep us going and cover our costs and allow us to do more. So you can go to our website, and if you go to the join button in the top right and scroll down, that's where you can enter in your information, including, of course, your mailing address, so that we can send one of these to you for your $35 contribution. It will take some time, 2 to 4 weeks at this point. I do have the pins in hand, but of course it takes time to get them through the post. Okay, next slide, please. Next week, we are super excited to have the XR Girls Africa presenting to us. Some of you may have met some of them before. XR Girls Africa is a program of the Africa VR Campus and Center based in Kenya, near or outside Nairobi. And Diana and Jerry, who is leading the XR Girls Africa, will be sort of moderating this discussion. But 6 of the girls, the young women who are participating in this group, will be speaking on that day. They're going to take us around and show us some of the environments that they have worked on. And then they're also going to talk to us about what they have learned in their journey through this program and what their aspirations are. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. They have come to some of our events in the past. I see that someone has a question. Do we have time to take that now? That's Mariana. Mariana, do you want to ask your question now?
Oh, I didn't ask any.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't put the question up or a hand up or anything.
Okay, all right, okay. No problem whatsoever. Yes, so, and then on September 4th, so 2 weeks from today, we will not have an event. This is because of the Labor Day holiday in the US and Canada. However, we do have these persistent spaces, this one and the one in Engage that we spoke about before, where you can gather with other members of the community. If you want to just get together and do some informal networking, hanging out, have a conversation, you can come into these spaces and do so on next 2 weeks from today, on September 4th. Then on September 11th, we're going to have Kelly Galori, who I believe is here.
Right.
And this, yes, that's super exciting that we're going to have her opening up her show in the gallery in the room next door. So we're super excited about that, to hear from her and to see her artwork. That's going to be on September 11th. But today, once again, we have Debbie Deer, and I can't wait to hear from her. I've had a sneak peek of her presentation, and it looks really exciting, and I'm so glad to have her here. I'm going to turn things over now to Julie to introduce Debbie. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just give me 1 minute. I need to stop sharing here and pull up properly my stuff here. And just bear with me a second, Debbie, while I get you set up. I'm going to be helping Debbie with her presentation.
No worries. Thank you so much, Julie and Karen.
No problem, no problem. And I think what I'm going to do just quickly before I do my share screen, because I'm multitasking here, I am going to do your introduction before I share, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. All right, hailing from Kingston, Jamaica, Debbie is an award-winning creative technologist, performer, educator, and speaker. And as the CEO, founder of Debbie Deer Productions and Orion Digital Innovations and Creations, Debbie has worked with organizations such as the Toronto District School Board and York University and Georgian College. And we're super excited to have you here today, Debbie. I am going to start your presentation. Today, Debbie's going to be talking to us about diverse forces in XR and how we influence the singularity. So here we go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. If you want to get started, I'm going to pull your first slide up here. I'm going to mute as well. So I'll be on mute unless you call me out. And then other than that, just hit next slide or tell me which presentation or video to play and I'll switch it over.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here and for coming to my presentation today. I think I have about 37 minutes to present, so I'll try to make this short and sweet and informative. We are going to be diving pretty deep into some topics. So just bear with me as, you know, we go on a journey and a ride together. So first thing I'd like to do is just like literally in virtual space, take a deep avatar breath. So if you're breathing with me, throw up an emoji and just drop in the space. And exhale. Thank you, Sarah, Trisha, Karen. Wow. Woo. So many people. Elena, Christina, thank you so much. Love it. So yeah, so my name is Debbie Deer, and I'm the CEO of Orion Digital Innovations and Creations, Inc. We're going to be talking about diversity in XR and why that's important. If we could go to the next slide, please. So I can't really see what's behind me with ease, so I'm just going to trust that slide 2 is up and so on and so forth. So today we're going to be talking about the future of diverse voices in XR and how we influence AI in this time of singularity. So the next slide, por favor. Okay, so futurist Ray Kurzweil believes that speed superintelligence will occur by 2045. This is the ability for AI to act like a human mind with a million-fold increase in the speed of information processing relative to humans. So to contextualize this theory, essentially an AI with speed superintelligence can process information learned by a human over the course of 1 year in 30 seconds. So of course that's a big deal. And the reason why I'm starting with that is because 2045 is really not that far away. And if we can imagine that an AI has the computing power within 30 seconds that the average human has within a year, that means that AI will exponentially grow. And therefore, it's very important that the LLMs and all the things that we're using to program AI and provide that foundational processing structure is conscientious and has the benefit of humanity in the forefront. We're going to discuss in detail how our social engineering, socioeconomic structure, current systemic structures influence AI largely, and why it's important for those influences to be diverse. So, next slide, please. Okay. So why should we care about AI, let alone making this superhuman extension of humanity diverse and conscientious? So this slide here is a slide from the Henry G20 Augmented Pod Play, which was featured at Luminato Festival in 2021. I was the visual lead. I was responsible for creating the avatars here. I didn't model them, but as the visual lead, depicting the G20 riots, which some of you may be aware of, but just in case, the G20 riots were riots that occurred in 2010, I believe, where there were hundreds of people detained by the Toronto police, and they were assaulted, they were thrown in jail because they were protesting the G20 riots, the G20 conference rather, at the time. So when we were creating a 3D model or a 3D experience of the incarceration, they asked me what kind of body types, what kind of skin tones, what kind of gender identities did we want to represent. And I had never really thought of that in a gaming or 3D sense. I come from a film background, so of course I thought of that in the media, and I very much know how the media influences all of us, especially as women and female identified people. I should also give some background that I started off modeling very, very young and was first runner-up Miss Jamaica Universe as a teenager. So yeah, I was very, very aware of the heavy influence of the media and our psyche. So with that in mind, I initially started thinking about, hey, this is going to be a really important conversation as to who controls the narrative of, you know, what is desirable and like what is inclusive. I'm hearing some feedback. I'm not sure if that's me or someone, but yeah, and I would love to hear questions at the very end. So please save your questions. If it's a really burning question, you're like, wow, I really want to know more about this, just, yeah, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, Debbie, just to let you know, everyone else except for me at the moment and you is muted. So
Okay.
the feedback must be coming from you. I'm sorry, I can't offer more help than that at the moment.
No worries. It was just something minor. All right, so if we could go to the next slide, please, which should be a fun video and activity. Yeah, and for this, when I do ask the question, since everyone is muted, you can just throw up an emoji with your answer, okay? So if we could go ahead and please play that video, Julie, thank you so much. I'm not sure if the video is playing, but I can't hear anything. We'll see.
I do not see the video playing. Yeah.
I just want to see, did you hear it or did you see it?
No.
I can't see anything. I don't know if the audience could hear and see. Can't hear anything either.
No, not seeing it.
No.
No, not seeing it.
You're just not even seeing it. Oh, that's very strange. Okay, hold on 2 seconds. Hold on. Stand by, stand by, stand by.
Thank you.
Okay, let's try this. Tommy, can you see?
Yes. If you didn't figure it out yet, I'm an AI host. Why is it important for us?
Sorry, could you hear that though?
Yeah, we could hear.
Okay, I'll start.
Yes.
I'm going to start it. I'll start it from the beginning. Here we go.
Thank you.
X our women audience. Thank you all for joining me and Debbie today. Let's make this short and sweet. Let's see by a show of hands, how many of you think I'm an AI? I'll give you a sec. Debbie, what do you think? Were they mostly right?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of gave it
If
away
you
a little
didn't
in the
figure it
beginning.
out yet, I'm an AI host. Why is it important for us AIs to be diverse? It's pretty obvious to me, but here are a few reasons why diversity in tech matters. According to a recent survey in June 2024 by Tech Report, 62% of people in high-tech industries are white, 20% are Asian, 8% are Hispanic, 7% are black, 3% are multiracial. Get this, Google, the largest search engine in the world, has 83% men, 60% white men, and 34% Asians in their workforce. Considering that Google has one of the largest databases online and is potentially used as the basis for many LLMs or learned language models for bots like me, we can see that these stats make the AI playing field today pretty imbalanced.
Thank
Hi.
you, Cindy, our AI host. And thank you, everyone, for playing along. I think it was pretty clear. Unfortunately, we had a little spoiler alert, but that's okay. This is tech, and we all get that all wonderful things will go all kinds of ways with tech. So thank you, Julie, for playing that. But yes, so let's go to the next slide and talk about these statistics. So this is from Tech Report survey. This was done in 2024. So in high-tech industries, 62% of folks are white, 20% are Asian, 8% are Hispanic, 7% Black, and 3% multiracial. So it's very, very obvious that at the top of the spectrum are pretty much the white ideology, what is termed as white, which is European descent. And that obviously influences everything. It influences who we include. It influences how things look. It influences what we care about. You know, the type of topics that are fed to our algorithms, and essentially it influences who has the voice of technology and who is the brain of AI in a very, very, very profound way. So if we could skip along to the next slide. This goes even deeper because according to worldmetrics.org, these are race and gender labor force percentages at Google, and it's 83% men, like our avatar said, 60% white men, 34% Asian. So you can do the math in terms of who else is and isn't represented there. I don't need to tell a room of women and female identified people why having a predominantly patriarchal influence in tech is very weighted and I would say damaging. Not because we don't have wonderful men out there who have good intentions for humanity and the future of tech, but obviously there are going to be implicit biases. So let's skip along, please. Next slide. So inherent in these biases are unfortunately systemic whiteness, which is why I paired the slide with not only the gender statistics of the high-tech industry in as a whole, but also Google. But yeah, the reason why that correlation is important is because of patriarchy and, of course, systemic biases and systemic racism, which I will call white systemic oppression. So I'm just trying to get my slides up here. Give me a minute. So you're probably seeing on your screen that Google had a class action suit against them. And I believe that was in 2013 2017. I'm just trying to get my slide up here. Yes, there we go. And it was a group of women who came together that were highlighting, obviously, the fact that having 83% men at Google was very problematic, and not only because of the optics, but because of their lived experiences. Women who were qualified, if not more qualified than their male counterparts, were unpaid in many instances, or ignored. And of course, when they raised these issues, nothing was done about them for several years. Um, a really great lecture on the influence of um, the white systemic biases in society is done by Dr. Robin DiAngelo. She does a piece on white fragility. She is an Italian woman, and she has some really interesting thoughts on that and how the patriarchy influences um, that dynamic as well. So here is a slide from that talk where you can see the percentages of male leaders or CEOs at various positions in the US. So Fortune 500 CEOs to presidency, vice presidency, senate, down to police officers. I mean, they're in the over 70 percentile in most cases, male. So with the next slide, thank you. So why systemic whiteness and patriarchy is an us, not a them problem. This is the House Freedom Caucus that Dr. DiAngelo highlights. Of course, we can see visually that they are male, and they are predominantly white or European men. So automatically we know that these men do not have a wide spectrum of lived experience, nor do they have access to it in the very poignant decision-making process. And for those of you who don't know, I myself have researched the House Freedom Caucus makes really important political decisions. They are predominantly right-winged, of course, but they make a lot of decisions on legislation, on education, on the judicial system, and they form a really important aspect of the backbone of U.S. politics. So moving along from there, we're going to go into some history, a little bit of a history lesson here, and this is goes a bit deep. So follow along, and hopefully, hopefully these correlations are identifiable to most, and if not, happy to answer questions after that. So I've gone a few places. I've started with AI and how the exponential growth of AI is so profound for us as humans, because I think more than most people, everyone in this room is aware of the implications, both good and wonderful, and potentially devastating, of having technology and AI in a certain type of person's hands. Um, I wanted to go into the history of modern economic / capitalist structure to show why I think AI and our new information age is so powerful. And I wanted to show what I've observed as the potential foundation in terms of the blueprint on which, on top of which, all of this technology is built and we're continuing to build. So the first picture is a picture of the Atlantic slave trade, which was 1582 to 1876. We all know at a base level that essentially Europeans went to Africa and traded, some say hundreds of thousands, some say millions of Africans from the continent of Africa, and brought them to the Americas to enslave them to make cotton, sugar, and various other forms of products. When that dismantled in the Caribbean first, then it became, we ushered in the industrial age, which was the 1880s to 1940s. And of course, we had machinery, which was able to really expedite the workforce. We know that there were a few wars at this time, early wars at the time, and folks are recovering from various depressions and various plagues. And so it was a difficult time in society overall, certainly in the workforce. But what this structure of capitalism really, I think, tried to do with a form of transference was to find new ways to extract labor and intense levels of labor using machinery to facilitate that. And the human, of course, was involved, but they were finding ways to automate, which we're very much doing now, folks working at very high levels. So in conjunction with that, or subsequent to that, we get into the information age in the 1940s to present day, of course, and it looks very different in the 1940s. But basically, we're now going into an age where technology is thinking for itself. It doesn't even really need us to expedite various activities. I mean, we're just starting to have these conversations and just starting to use technology from a artificial intelligence standpoint and like sentient standpoint. But the reason why I highlight these cross sections is because the ideology that forms a lot of this structure, if we don't recognize that they haven't really changed much. And I know it's a bold statement to make when we're not seeing people in the fields and we're not seeing sweatshops every day, but there are variations of that. And even in our modern so-called free society, I'm sure a lot of us recognize that if we're not at a certain socioeconomic level, we have to work pretty hard, most of us, to survive. The cost of living is getting very high, and there are many indicators that suggest that the expectation of labor um, is very, very, very high, and it's not always ethical. So that being said, it's not all doom and gloom, of course, but this is why we're having this conversation, because we need people who have that awareness and who have had that lived experience to say that how do we create more balance and more focus on humanity and the benefit of humanity using these tools instead of having these tools and ideology use us. So next slide, please. I hope we're all breathing and following along. I know it's some of this is weighted, but I'm a deep thinker, and you're gonna get to know a little bit more about me. So okay, that's someone's message. Hello. Okay, so I'm Debbie Deere. I'm the founder and CEO of Debbie Deere Productions and Orion Digital Inc. I've worked as a producer, playwright, talent, artist in residence, educator, and creative technologist, and I've worn these hats really proudly. I got my education in Jamaica in psychology initially, and then I moved to Canada over 10 years ago to study film and digital media production at Seneca and Ryerson, then Ryerson. So next slide. Yay, this is one of my favorites. So just a bit of background. I come from a pretty amazing and unique family. I'll be keynote speaking at a conference called Gratitude in Motion in October, where I talk more about my background. But essentially, the first picture here is my mom and dad and my brother. I actually have 7 siblings in total, or there are 7 of us. I have 6 siblings in total. But my dad discovered the Chagas bug when he was very young. He was about 25. It's a bug that gives heart disease in Central America. He was a scientist, a botanist. He's now a doctor of psychology, and he pioneered psychometric testing in the Caribbean. And my mom was the senior events planner for Jamaica Trade Invest, so lots of political background there. And she's a descendant of European settlers in Jamaica. They're mainly German, Irish, Scottish, Portuguese on both sides. Her parenting. So, growing up with a mother that was very light skinned or even white presenting, in contrast to me, really formed this idea of how race and shadism and even economics really played heavy roles in social mobility and perception. Even though much of this happened in Jamaica, it was really interesting to bring that knowledge and awareness here in Canada as a young adult. So I got into creative technology about 3 years ago when I was part of the Oya Black Arts Scale Up Immersive cohort. And then while I was in the program, I actually started the PXR incubator for emerging XR artists, which was a little local because I was learning about XR, but also really seeing that there was just such a need to have more diversity. And I was also seeing that that disparity of not having the diversity was affecting my community. And being someone who recognizes my privilege, coming from an educated background and socioeconomically stable background, I thought it kind of became a duty for me to change that. So while I was part of this cohort, I started Orion Digital Inc. Um, and yeah, I've gone on to do a lot of other things from there, but mainly I've kind of focused on teaching and creating equity and speaking a lot about diversity. But the reason why I say equity versus charity is because I think a lot of people think diversity, equity, and inclusion is just a workshop here and there, or having a Black friend, or having a woman sit on a board. And the thing is, it's a lot deeper than that. Because as we saw in the previous slides, when your foundation is predominantly patriarchal and, you know, um, elitist, and has this foundation in this kind of enslavement mentality, um, we need some heavy forces, as we all know, to truly transform the fabric of this society. So I see that we're at 12:43. I'd like to take a time check to know how much time I really have left. Please, anyone?
Debbie, yes, we officially we go until 1 p.m.
Okay.
So, yeah, and sometimes if you are able to stay and if some of the other attendees are able to stay, and if you're engaging with them, that's fine. We'll keep it open for a little while longer. So it's in large part up to you, but officially we go until 1.
All right. Okay. So yes, next slide, please. Let's keep going. All right. So this should be a video, but in the interest of time, I will hopefully play the video at the end. But basically, it's just an amalgamation of some of my work and with my words, in case the video can't be played. I really do try to speak to voices that are underrepresented. And it's not just Black voices or African descendant voices. I do a lot of work with Indigenous communities, South Asian communities, East Asian, queer, LGBTQ plus, um, various socioeconomic backgrounds, various educational levels. I've been doing this work for 11 years, and so transferring that to XR has become really easy for me. Um, and I see it as a phenomenal opportunity for all of us to level the playing field by entering into kind of an open source market. Whereas much as we know that the tech giants um, have this disparity in their representation, there's still a ton of access. And I'm example of that because obviously I'm not taught in tech. I'm pretty much self-taught in everything that I've learned in the past 3 years. Um, and I think anyone can do it if you're focused and you find the right people to partner with and mentor you. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Can't see, so I'm just assuming everything's going really well. So yeah, some selected projects here. As I mentioned, I became the fellowship director for the PXR conference and IBPOC, which is Indigenous Black People of Color Fellowship. We've been running that program for 2 years, and we are running it this year, but we're doing a kind of smaller scale as we kind of regroup for 2025. Luminata Festival, which I spoke about. In this image, I took that photo, which became the cover. And that year, I was also in the festival as an artist, dancing and producing a film called "What We Leave Behind" about Indigenous and African-based dance. Then there's York University. I did an accreditation XR program there with the theater school, and Jordan, we did an XR live theater course there as well. And currently I'm doing a program with Conestoga College for this year, which is really exciting. But I can't speak too much about it right now. But yes, we are creating a lot more access for a lot more diverse people. So in this room, I don't think I have to emphasize these definitions too much, but we'll briefly go over it. Um, we all know what AI is, and that essentially it simulates human intelligence. I think we all have a fair idea of diversity, which is the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds. And sorry, Julie, I don't know if I said next slide, but it should be the slide that says basic definitions. And the Singularity, which is a theory about artificial intelligence advancing beyond human control. So I'm currently working with the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce on a program called Flip the Script to counter biases in funding women and non-binary entrepreneurs. And they have created a really extensive, comprehensive program where they have an AI simulator that essentially teaches women how to talk to investors. And we think that a lot of our terminology, like there are no biases in our words. Well, I don't think we all think that, I can't say that, but I don't think we recognize how the way we speak influences the access that we have. Outside of being female presenting or female identified, what we say largely influences the kind of support we get, especially financially, which is something I learned working with this program. So we at Orion and Debbie Dare were helping them to create AI hosts and videos and PDFs to kind of deliver this information. But it's a very amazing program. It's free. They have 2 courses. One is Control the Conversation. So they go in depth in terms of how you can speak to investors, what you need to say. And they have another one called Creating Powerful Pitches. So they teach you how to create a pitch, but to think like a man essentially, and to talk like a man to men predominantly, so that, and these are their terms, you have more promotional responses versus preventative. The video would have demonstrated some of this, but once again, in the interest of time, we'll see if we can play the videos at the end. But here is the website. August 23rd is the deadline for signing up. So if you are interested, it is open to, I believe, women, non-binary folks in Canada. And this is not me plugging them. They did not ask me to do this. I just thought, this kind of plug would work for this room. All right, so the next slide. So I'm sure, hopefully, we recall that correlation I made to our foundational socioeconomic structure and what we employ today. And that's kind of what this slide is about. So I like to take a conscientious approach to the future. In the work I'm doing with Conestoga, they have kind of coined this 4-step strategy that has 4 P's in it. So it's a people, planet, product, so designed to help people first, and profit model. It's abundance versus extraction. So when I drew those correlations between the Atlantic slave trade and the industrial era and the informational era, and how a lot of that capitalist basis doesn't really put humans first. It kind of puts gain first. It puts extraction over abundance and replenishing. This statistic, and it's not just a statistic, this occurrence, this phenomenon that's happening right now is so tragic, that we have 250,000 people in Africa, including children, mining cobalt. We don't hear about it in the news ever. When I hear about this, I'm looking at independent sources. But they say it's 250,000, according to the Center for Child Rights and Business. But the independent news says it's millions of people mining and dying for the cobalt that's in all of our electronics. And this is in Africa. And this is today. This is happening right now. So that to me hits hard, because it's showing that we're putting so much preference over this cobalt that powers our digital world, but we're not putting the humanity first. And it doesn't seem to matter that millions of people are affected and hundreds of thousands are dying to satisfy our Western needs. And this is just one incident, right? There are multiple incidences like this. So I highlighted this point here. Empathy is the secret ingredient that will help initiate structural change and fuel the passionate revolution we need to heal the world. And that's from Humanist Australia. I think with the absence of empathy, it's very hard for those who have not been through an experience to truly embody the magnitude of these experiences. As someone who is African descended, darkly melanated, woman, immigrant, I immigrated to this country by myself. By this country, I mean Canada. Multiple other intersections that I won't say here, but I definitely know what it's like to be the underdog. And I think that is why, and even to this day, you might think, okay, I've achieved these things, but I'm telling you, very candidly, some of the people I've mentioned have been quite racist towards me, overtly, to the point where I've had to escalate things to departments and deans. And, some of my so-called European white counterparts are flabbergasted half the time that these things happen. And I say, these are regular occurrences for people living in bodies and experiences like mine, despite privileges. So when we see rooms of all white men or people at the top, even all white women, anyone, I think even if we are comfortable, we should still question our comfort levels and say, hey, am I really through my work? Am I really through this community? Am I really through this technology? Looking at the full spectrum of the human gains and the abundance model. So I'm going to power through this because there's 6 minutes left, but the benefits of diversity in XR and AI. So inclusive design and user experience, we obviously know that biases do exist, and that filters into tech, so we can counteract that with diversity. Decision support and transparency, so reducing the biases. Education and awareness, AI can raise awareness about diversity and inclusion issues. Personalized experiences and recommendations, so algorithms that cater to your lived experience. Recruitment and talent management, so AI-driven tools can significantly enhance the recruitment process. Improving workplace environments, so AI can monitor DEI principles in the workplace. And of course, diversity in tech teams, so thoughtfully designed AI. Next slide, please. Julie did say she wanted me to go deep. So right now, I'm not sure. I can't read the room. I can't read the emojis, but I hope it's resonating. Yes, this part goes a little bit deeper. I'm going historical again. Yeah. So all information on the internet, which one estimate puts at about 120 zettabytes could be stored in a volume of DNA about the size of a sugar cube, or approximately a cubic centimeter. That is a really profound statement to me, that all the information on the internet can be stored in an equivalent sugar cube sized portion of all of our DNA. One person. With that in mind, I think the reason why I'm bringing up Africa as not just a race, but a living database and the birth of civilization is not because I'm African descended. It's because in 4 minutes, I'm going to try and say why it's so important that diversity, being the seat of civilization and kind of seeding over thousands of years, various forms of cultures, ethnicities, races, if you will. Yeah, it's pretty deep, and I think that coming from the continent, excuse me, um, we are closer to the land. You know, indigenous folks are closer to the land. We're closer to nature. We're closer to the importance of remembering our organic power. And as it states here in this slide, your natural intelligence, which refers to an emotional impulse inherent in our universal myth that stimulates us to value and to protect the integrity of all living beings. If that is encased in our DNA at various levels, right? If you can store 1,000 years worth of knowledge, it makes sense that those who are from, you know, these very old cultures, even if you didn't grow up in them, you still have a memory of that. So I think that having folks from these backgrounds, in addition to folks who don't have as much of that information, doesn't mean that they may not be influenced by it or may not see the value equally, if not more in some cases. But I do think that just this very fact makes it so essential that we, as we go deeper into the technological age, we kind of remember those roots, so that we're always evolving with that in mind. You know, not seeing nature and even the past or certain ways of community building as archaic or obsolete, but seeing them as essential and using them to build on these ideas from a more homeostasis, um, and once again, abundant versus extractive model. Um, Next slide, please. So in the 2 minutes, I mean, these subsequent slides really just talk about the fact that technology really did exist thousands of years ago. This is a tree of life, flower of life, atomically etched in a 6,000-year-old Egyptian temple. If we skip to the next slide, sorry if I'm just powering through this. This is that same temple. It's showing the icosahedrons and the dodecahedrons that are believed to represent the magnetic field, closely linked to Earth's resonance and even memory from a 6,000-year-old temple. This fish drawing in the middle is a drawing from the dog and people, so the dog and people, depicting Sirius, which is the dog and folks, dog star rather, for those of you who don't know. But they knew really intricate information about the cosmos, you know, 6,000, 10,000, sometimes up to 30,000 years ago. So that is pretty deep, and I could go deeper, but we're going to skip to the next slide, please. Thank you. And so in our more modern era, you know, Nikola Tesla, for example, he developed Wi-Fi energy, a circuitry of infinite wireless communication in the 1930s. And it was based on the structures of the pyramids at Giza, because it was found that there was a form of Wi-Fi communication, even though they had no, you know, cabled electricity. They had a form of wireless electricity and wireless communication, which is not only depicted in their frescoes or their hieroglyphics, but it was measurable, just on the soil, just with the geometric structures of the pyramids. And it goes a little deeper here too with Tesla's 369 rule and geometry, and essentially having the pyramid be a 60th of the degree of true north, which for folks to do over 6,000 years ago with these monumental megalithic structures, that is almost an impossible feat today. So it definitely is indicative that technology is not new. It was part of society, but as we can see in these cases, technology wasn't the demise of these societies, right? They were used to elevate and amplify the magic of the human experience. So, last slide, please. Sorry, we're 1 minute over, but we're gonna get there. So yeah, so in conclusion, hopefully you enjoyed the ride. I think you are the AI. That is the title of this talk. And I say that because I want us to remember, yeah, we are the magic, we are the power, we are the brains behind the artificial machines we're building, and so we have a really big duty to humanity. So that's why I say returning to our origins of humanity and innate, holistically advanced use of technology will create a future that more closely resembles an advanced utopia of the past versus a dystopic projection of the future. Open source technology and accessibility offers one of the greatest opportunities to restore balance of knowledge in the time of the singularity by providing low barrier to entry resources for diverse and marginalized communities. And the final slide just shows how to get in touch with me. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. And hopefully it was informative. And I'm happy to answer questions or just hear your thoughts. So many, many, many thanks.
Wow, that was amazing, Debbie. Golly, there's so many thoughts swirling around in my head right now, and I know others may have questions. And please feel free to use the "I have a question" button at the top of your screen to get into the queue. But I'm very curious. I don't know much about biocomputing, but you have intrigued me even further about that. And now I understand a little bit more what you meant when you said you are the AI. And I look forward to learning more. Super, super interesting concepts. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Happy to share.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I'm going to stop sharing, but if we do have a few minutes and anybody, like I can still play those videos, but let's maybe, oh, somebody's got a question. Who's it? Who's got their hand up?
Yeah, I think it's Trish Giannakis, and then
Okay.
it looks like Trisha Blake.
Hi there. Thank you
Hi
so
there.
much for. Hi, this is wonderful. I love what you've done with your research. It's really incredible
Thank you.
and very, very inspiring. I teach at St. Peter's University in Jersey City, which is more of an inner city college, first generation American college attendance with my students, and I'm going to be teaching ethics in artificial intelligence and art. I'm an art professor, and I was actually in the XR gallery with my exhibit here, so I've been a member for a while, and everyone here is just wonderful. And was wondering if you would possibly be a guest speaker, possibly in the spring, is when I'm proposing the class.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
Thank
In
you.
Jersey?
It's Jersey City, but we do Zoom. I have guest speakers in Zoom a
Okay,
lot
yeah.
for my students, so that would be wonderful. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, just
and
reach out and I'll be happy to talk to your students.
and how can we follow up with you?
Well, you should have my email. Let's see what is on that slide. There should be a QR code which should take you to my website, but my email is there as well, dreambig@oriondigitalinc.com. And we're also on Instagram, so you can also DM me on Instagram as well.
And that's in the card that was promoting today's session.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll drop. We can drop it into the Slack channel, and I can throw it up on the screen in a minute. But Debbie, just so you know, I'm playing your video without sound behind you, just so that people can see it in case they have to run off. At least they're seeing some of your work behind.
Oh, thank you.
Video. Yeah. So it's
Thank you,
a good
Debbie.
idea. You're welcome. My pleasure. Does anybody else have a question?
I think Trisha did. I think
more. Can you hear me?
Yep, Trisha XR. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm a Jamaican as well, so I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this space. I was trying to throw up the Jamaican flag, but the flags in here aren't working properly. So
oh no! Oh, there it is. Keisha, float the flag. Oh, thank you. Yes.
I was
Blessed
expecting
love.
to see a flag. Yes. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for sharing your energy. I think just diversity in XR is so important. I think even when I use different tools, this is more common, is that I, identifying as a Black, you know what I mean, cisgendered woman, that when I'm feeding the AI, when I am feeding it, it's like, well, you know what? Like, this is what I want this thing to look like. Like,
yes,
whenever I'm getting, not coily here or you know what I mean, kinky here. It's like, no, this is what I want. So this, I feel sometimes, is my part of being that I in the AI to train it as well. And if more of us can do that, then some of the things that we're getting in terms of output, has the potential to be a little bit more diverse. And when it comes to avatars, when it comes to skin tones, when it, why is the default always X? And we have to go and change it. Like, why is it not just, if it's blank, like we can then choose, but then I don't see myself, you know what I mean? And having to fight for that. But thank you so much. I was at the Scale Up as well. I don't know if you, we have a picture together. The cohort with Adrian Rashad Driscoll. I was at that.
Oh, we have a picture together? Yes. I think I recall. Well, nice to hear and see you again.
Yes, had to come out and support. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you too.
Does anyone else have questions for Debbie?
Julie, Debbie, this is Christine.
Hi, Christine.
Hi. I really enjoyed your talk, and so many points. Like Karen said, I have so many things I'd love to delve deeper into with you, but you just brought up a thought for me. I posted it in the chat. There was an audio that I listened to, and it is very dated. It was 15 years ago or so, but it's called The Patriarch Within. And you made an earlier point about we kind of have to look within ourselves and start with ourselves. Like, how do we view the world, and how have we been influenced by our upbringing and our surroundings and our culture? And this audio really opened my eyes to that, just kind of looking at what kind of some of my preconceived notions were about things in the world, and how sometimes it's very difficult to look outside of that. I'm a very privileged white woman growing up in the Midwest, and just have always had a lot of benefits that I have noticed that other people around the world have not had. So just wanted to make that comment. Thank you so much for all your information. I'm going to follow you and looking forward to learning more about all the things you do.
Thank you, Christine, for sharing that and for being vulnerable and honest. It takes some big, I don't know, cojones, for lack of a better term, to really introspect, and I really highly recommend Dr. D'Angelo's talk for anyone who wants to go deeper, and myself included. I've had to check my privileges a lot, even with all the other demographics. I think it's really important to do that. Anybody else? Everyone in the chat is so welcome.
Okay. What an amazing presentation, Debbie. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you came out today and shared your presentation with everyone. And when I was with Debbie and her team at VRTO, I ended up trying your VR experience, which I was a little bit in that I just played, right? Do you want me to just play it again and maybe you can talk to it as it's playing?
Sure.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can look at it here.
Yep.
I'm
Okay,
just gonna
hold
try
on a
to turn
second. I
around.
just need to reshare, so just bear with me.
I'm a little frozen.
And video. Okay, I'll do it without the audio again so that we can. And then yeah, here we go.
Okay, yeah. So did you want me to just talk through like various projects?
Yeah, if there's anything there, yeah, sure.
I think, you know, this song is kind of profound, so if you don't mind playing the audio, then I'll just let it play and then I can speak about that.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Can you go a little bit louder? Just a little bit. Okay, thank you so much for playing that. And thanks for the emojis. So what was, oh, Jamaica flag again. Boop boop. Thanks, Keisha. I know who that is. That's my girl. Yeah, so pretty much what you saw there was kind of like some highlighted projects. Some to name a few would be the Everything Makes Me Laugh, Immersive, which was a project I did with Governor General award-winning artist Bruce Eves. He's a gay artist that has a lot of strong commentary on gay culture over the course of 50 years, so pretty poignant. He was pretty much unrecognized until 10 years ago when he got the Governor General's award, but has remained really prolific. So that was a very cool piece where I was responsible for wall projections and, you know, creating extended reality and, you know, AR augmented reality works for him. You saw the Performance and XR Conference Indigenous Black People of Color Fellowship in VR chat. So we took these 8 fellows, and over the course of 2 years, we gave them $1,000 honorarium each year and provided them with their own headsets and taught them the fundamentals of XR live production. So you saw a bit of that work in Hidden Pieces. You saw me acting as the lead in A Christmas Carol VR. I play 4 ghosts, and all the ghosts, with the exception of one, which is Molly, they're all melanated. So I did different takes to the Dickens, fully white cast back then, but now we're trying to be a bit more inclusive. So yeah, I have 4 distinct voices and characters and metahumans in that. And we are bringing that back for a 3rd year with Agile Lens in New York. We were featured by the Apple Provision in Immersive Magazine as one of the top apps to check out. So this year, if you do have a headset and you're around, I would highly recommend coming to that show. Not because I'm in it only, but because it's cool. Ari Tar is my other co-star. Like, it's very cool what they're doing with metahumans and like being able to sync us all into one instance remotely. Very much like this, but just live theater version. What else did you see in that video? You saw some works with some Indigenous artists that I do. I've worked with some dance artists. And in general, I think what I like about my work and love about the people I work with is that nothing about the work feels one-dimensional. Nothing about the work feels like only a certain person is being represented. I really pride myself on my work reflecting as many people that kind of make up the macrocosm of humanity as possible. I do not see myself as a paragon of virtue or a paragon of, championing all human rights in the world. But yeah, I have a certain level of consciousness that through lived experience really ties me to creating equity in the space. So that's what the work is about, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And it's 1:17, so yeah, I'm gonna end it there with many, many thanks, many, 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 many thanks, many emojis.
Thank you so much, Debbie.
You're welcome. Thank you
Yeah,
too.
thank you from on behalf of the community, taking time to spend with us today. I think you've opened our eyes, like a lot of our speakers do, but I think this is such a relevant conversation. It is every day, but it's becoming more and more important that we become representatives of all of us. And I love how you say we are the AI, and I think if we start thinking about that like that, instead of letting AI just take over and we're not responsible, that's not true. We're actually the ones that are responsible for AI and the way that it's going to be rolled out and how it's implemented. And diversity is the key, and inclusion. And thank you so much for having us all dig deep into our souls today to connect with you and your messages. It was really impactful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how could you catch a Christmas Carol? Yeah, so we had a ChristmasCarolVR.com. That was the website last year. So